Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about the JCat Aquasurance powder foundation that is taking YouTube by storm and whether or not it's worth it. So if that's something you're interested in watching, then you are in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
All right, guys. So this powder foundation by JCat Beauty. Now, before we get into it, you guys know that I did a favorites video where I discussed several products by Wander Beauty that I recently have fallen in love with. One of those products was a powder foundation, and it's called the Wanderlust Powder Foundation. Now, this may be the reason why I am not a big fan of this. So I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler alert. I just don't think this one is cracked up to be what everyone is raving about. But there is a reason I might be thinking that. And that's because I just happen to have experienced an incredible powder foundation prior to trying this one out. Now, first, let's talk about this one. So, JCat Beauty, they are a kind of drugstore-ish beauty brand. They have very affordable makeup at very affordable prices. There are a couple of things of theirs that I actually really like. They have some of these little they call them prismatic metallic mousse shades that are like these moussey metallic shimmery eyeshadows that are absolutely beautiful on the eyes. I think those from JCat Beauty are beautiful. I have never been a fan of their eyeshadows. I have not been a fan of their lip products. I think those are the only two other things that I've tried from them up until this particular experience. Now, this one was sent out to a lot of influencers, and a lot of influencers were showing the PR they got with it and all of the claims that came along with it, which
long. It is called the Aquasurance. The name kind of says it all.
Claims to have some hydrating ingredients and
Okay, so now we are going in with the star of the show. So this is the JCat Aquasurance Compact Foundation Powder. This is new from them. Hands down best powder foundation I've tried so far.
you know, in this day and age, you always wonder, why is everyone all of a sudden talking about this particular product? Is it because it's good, or is it because everyone's getting sponsored? So I hate that we have to think that. It just aggravates the crap out of me. But it is what it is, so let's just talk about it and see if it really is all that everyone is saying that it is. So they claim that this is a foundation that is in a powder form that you can use wet or dry. I can tell you right off the bat, using this wet is a nightmare. I made such a mess using this wet. I would not recommend that to anyone. And they have specific directions with how to use it wet. They claim that for fuller coverage, to take the sponge out of here, dampen it, and then go into the powder and then put it on the face. It's patchy. It doesn't blend well. It's not a cute look. Wouldn't recommend it. So I would stick to using it as a powder foundation if it's something that you want to try. They say that it's very finely milled, that it's going to minimize texture, it's going to reduce your pores, that it's going to absorb and balance your skin, and that it's going to control excess oil from showing through on the skin as you wear it throughout the course of the day. Now, they also claim that this is a brand new innovative water lock technology that locks in hydration and moisture within the powder, so it gives the impression that your skin is not going to feel dry like it has a powder on it, that somehow a powder is going to be very hydrating to the skin. And then they say that it's going to provide you with medium to full coverage. And that's kind of where I feel like this claim goes way sideways. First and foremost, we should discuss talc. We talk about talc a lot on this channel. You guys know how I feel about talc, and the basic analogy that I give to everyone is that if you think about baby powder, which is like pure talc, and what happens to baby powder when it gets wet, it turns into this glumpy kind of paste. And when you put a product on your face that has a significant amount of talc in it, when it comes into contact with your oils on your face or it gets wet, it turns into that same paste. A product is a product is a product. It's going to do the same thing. So I try to avoid products that are very high in talc. Now, there are some formulas out there that can include talc, but because it's a finishing powder that's incredibly finely milled, they've milled it down to basically like a invisible microsphere granule that they have a hard time kind of coming together and adhering to each other, so it kind of avoids that cakey issue. So there are some products out there that you can put talc in and you're not going to see that big of a cakey issue. Most of the inexpensive items that I see with talc in them tend to be a little bit of a disaster. I'll tell you products that I avoid usually altogether that have a high level of talc in them, and that's mainly face powders. Talc is one of those tricky products. I know that when I purchase a product that has talc in it, that I have to be like hyper aware of what's going to happen on my face in a couple of hours. And so that's just a good best practice. If you happen to notice that a formula is mostly talc, then just be aware and make sure that you're kind of keeping an eye on things. And if you see it getting cakey on you, then you know it's just got too much talc in it for you personally. So that's just been my personal experience with talc and my personal experience with clients and talc. So when I saw that this was a powder foundation that you're going to put all over your face to control oil, and the third ingredient in this foundation was talc, then I immediately was like, whoa. Now, one saving grace is that it does have mica and it also has silica in it, so there's still a chance that it may not be a disaster. That soft, smooth, buttery feeling that you get from this powder, which you actually do get when you touch it, it's very soft, it's very silky, comes from that ingredient silica. It makes it a very soft, very smooth type of a powder, which is fantastic. I do like the fact that it does help to minimize texture a little bit. I think it helps to minimize pores and minimize texture about as good as any other powder does. Most powders out there on the market will fill up your pores and fill in fine lines on your face, thereby minimizing pores and minimizing fine lines and wrinkles. That's basically what powders do, in addition to controlling oils. So those are like the main things that you actually want to use a powder for: to diminish pores, fine lines and texture on the face, and to set makeup. So, you know, that's basically the use of powders. Usually it's those three main things that you use a face powder for. When it comes to a powder foundation, coverage is going to matter. So you really want to know that it's going to cover just like a foundation would. So when it comes to tone, they actually have 8 different shades. So they offer 8 different shades in this particular powder foundation. Now, powder foundations tend to be very forgiving, so having an 8 shade range is not that bad. And when it comes to the texture of this powder, it feels very silky smoothing, and then you don't want it to feel very drying on the skin. So when you put the powder on as a powder foundation, you don't want to feel that tightness, that dry tightness on the skin, because that's going to end up A, making your face look very powdery, B, you're going to notice like those cracks, and it's going to emphasize any kind of dry spots that you have on your face if a powder is overly drying. Now, one thing that they do recommend is that you use a hydrating primer on the skin prior to putting a powder on, and that is for any powder foundation that you use. I would always recommend that you put on a hydrating primer prior to putting on a powder foundation. So first and foremost, I want you guys just to look at a comparison. I'm going to show you a comparison where I put the JCat foundation on one side of my face, and I put the Wonder Beauty foundation on the other side of my face. And I want you guys just to look at the difference in coverage. And that's why we wear foundation, is to even out skin tone and give our faces a more flawless, evened look. And this powder really falls short in the coverage area. I don't feel like there is, actually I would call this more of a light, maybe medium coverage, if that. I feel like it acts much more like a regular setting powder as opposed to a powder foundation. I think they would have been better marketing this as a setting powder as opposed to a powder foundation. The Wander Beauty Foundation is talc free, and you can obviously see by the pigment that it is really designed to be a powder foundation. It's designed to be worn as an actual foundation, and I feel like that's where the JCat product really is lacking. I don't feel like this product was very well designed to be a foundation, but we're going to try it out anyways. I did a hydrating primer, and we're going to see how this stacks up, and then I'll come back with my thoughts, because I've already tried the Wander Beauty Powder Foundation. I know how that performs, and it performs wonderfully throughout the course of the day. Minimal touch-ups. It lasts for 8 hours, 10 hours. It's fantastic. So I'm hoping we get the same results out of the JCat foundation. So let's get into the wear test. All right, guys, so quick disclaimer, I was going to do a half and half face wear test, but I could not wear the JCat all day long. I actually had things to do, and it's not looking good, guys. It's just not looking good. So I'm going to let you guys listen into what I'm talking about and make your own opinion. So we have Wander Beauty on this side. And then we have the JCat foundation on this side. I notice a big difference. Powder that's meant to be a foundation. Powder that's not meant to be a foundation. Can you just see the difference? And then this is like all of this. The coverage just isn't there, you guys. Not only that, but like the concealer blends a lot better here. Over here, you can almost see where the concealer stops. Other products, it just doesn't work good with other products either. Yeah. Yeah, see, I can even tell a bigger difference in here. Just gonna turn this up a little bit just so I can see. Yeah. I can see here. Oh man, it's a huge difference. Yeah, it's just not a powder foundation. The one thing that I really like about the Wander Beauty Powder Foundation is that it doesn't look like a caked face full of powder. Like, it looks very smooth, and there's still a little bit of your natural skin glow there. And over here, I don't know if you guys can see, but it really looks powdery. It feels very powdery. I've got some dry patches being emphasized over here, and it's dry. Whereas this doesn't feel like I have a powder foundation on. It feels like I have a regular foundation on. Oh my gosh, you can just see like where where I stopped on my nose. Like, look at that. You can totally tell. Yeah, and I see, I don't necessarily want to do a comparison because we're talking like a drugstore product versus a high-end product. But I don't think that's it. I genuinely think it's a product that was designed to act as a foundation, and a product that is a powder, is just like a face powder. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just don't feel like this was designed to be a foundation. I just don't. So as you guys can see, it doesn't perform well as a foundation from the wear test. It doesn't perform well with other products. It doesn't perform well with concealer. It just doesn't perform well as a foundation. And I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of knew that was going to be the story just by looking at the texture, looking at the ingredients before I even put it on my face. And I know that I said that I've been a little skewed by the Wander Beauty Wanderlust Powder Foundation because I've just recently tried it. But here's the thing. When you have a product that's actually designed to be a foundation and it's got very high quality ingredients in it and it delivers on being a good foundation, and then you try something like this that's claiming all the things that the Wanderlust Foundation does, and it doesn't do that, I think it does just make it more blatantly obvious that it's not doing what it should be doing. So I thought it would be interesting to at least get up here and talk about this product from a different perspective, not from an influencer's perspective that has flawless skin and doesn't have anything really to cover up on the face to begin with, because I think if you talk to somebody that actually has flaws on the skin, which is most people, they genuinely want coverage, and this powder does not give you coverage. But you're not going to see that if you're watching someone that has flawless skin. This is what you're going to see. You're going to see the minimizing of pores because it's a powder. We all know powders can do that. You're going to see like that fine line smoothing effect happening because at the end of the day, I think it's a good setting powder. I actually have used this to set my T-zone throughout the course of the day on top of foundation, and it works fine as a powder. This is just not a foundation powder. Now, a lot of people out there are also going to say, Erika, you're talking about Wander Beauty and a $40 powder foundation versus a $15 JCat powder foundation. And I get it. But I still feel like they should have produced a powder foundation and not a setting powder. This, to me, is just a setting powder. I don't feel like this is going to do the job of a powder foundation. So, unfortunately, I don't agree with everybody out there that has been doing reviews on this powder. And I honestly got it because one of my favorite influencers in the world really likes this powder, and I was genuinely disappointed when I tried it. I was like, oh wow, this is really just not good. So I just wanted you guys to have a different perspective. You may not agree with me, and you may try it and think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but at the end of the day, it's very different than an actual powder foundation, a powder that's meant to be a foundation. I have the It Cosmetics powder foundation here, and I put it up against the It Cosmetics powder foundation, and it's not a powder foundation. It's a setting powder. At the end of the day, guys, it's just makeup. It's all for fun, but this one let me down, and I wouldn't recommend it to you guys as a powder foundation. Now, would I Erika approve this as a setting powder? I actually would. It does have silica in it. It's very smooth. It's very buttery. It doesn't have a lot of pigment in it, so it's not going to change the tone of your foundation. You could do a light dusting through your T-zone, and it'll do great for you throughout the course of the day. But don't use it as a foundation. I just don't think you're going to get any coverage out of it that's going to warrant wearing this as a foundation. Now, I will say this. If you are a tinted moisturizer lover, then you might like this as an alternative to like a tinted moisturizer, because that's going to be about the type of coverage that you get. So if you love tinted moisturizers, then this may be a really good powder foundation fit for you. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget, we have the vault giveaway coming up this weekend. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at ErikaApproved so that you guys get the announcement of what time on Friday that is happening. Other than that, I hope everybody is very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video.